Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is the one here today. I'm Mike Galletta, a.k.a. Hammonton Mike, taking you through the next 10 or 15 minutes of worldwide action across the gamut of sports. Down the road, if you want to write in, I got my address up there. It's mgalletta@comcast.net. You want to write in, talk about what we talked about today. I'll use it on the next show, put it in some different segments for you. Look for my upcoming videos on the Sports Box for individualized sports, from football to hockey to baseball to golf to basketball. We'll have it all for you. For the inaugural show today, I brought Steve, the Chief Pyfrin. Steve, thanks for coming out today.
Yeah, no problem, Mike.
We're going to talk about some different stuff, go back and forth, and just give our opinions on some different things. First, we're going to start with football. With the upcoming draft in the NFL, we're going to talk about Jameis Winston being the #1 pick. Personally, you know, he is football ready. I would like to see Mariota drafted first, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Bucs are set on Winston. His lawyer has said in the past, actually in the upcoming days, that Winston is ready for the NFL, but not ready for the NFL off the field. Steve, what do you think about that?
He probably is not ready, because every time he turns around, he gets in trouble. You know, between his allegations in Florida, he was arrested for something else after
the sexual assault. Yeah. That's in 2012 that's been going on.
And him not attending the draft, I think, is a big question mark. If there was one place I would be if I were the #1 overall pick, it would probably be the NFL draft. So, you know, he probably is still going to go 1, 2, 3, something like that. So, based on his talent level, they're not going to shy away from him. They're still going to pick him. But we've seen plenty of #1 overall picks not work out. Jamarcus Russell. So, whether that happens again, it's still to be seen. But you know, it's probably a gamble. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him to slide to 3 or 4, and those top 3 teams maybe taking a little bit more of a short.
And I agree with that. My biggest fear with Winston, he might be ready for the NFL right now as a pro set quarterback, but what's to say the 2012 allegation doesn't come up again? The lady says, "Oh, you know what? I think he's making NFL money now. Let's see if we can bring it up again." That's just my concern off the field.
Right.
For the Philadelphia fans out there who obviously we're coming from Jersey today, but for the people out there who think Mariota is going to the Philadelphia Eagles, well, you are dead wrong. Okay, I really don't see how he slips to number 20 unless the Eagles move up somehow, and I honestly don't think they can move up that high with what they could give up. If they do give up a lot to get him, you're really taking a gamble on a guy who might not be ready for the next couple of years. I think the Eagles have other needs besides the quarterback position right now of that nature. And to be honest with you, I don't think he gets past 2 or 3. You got the Buccaneers picking 1 who need a quarterback. You got Tennessee who's #2 who needs a quarterback. You then go to Jacksonville who does not, Oakland who does not. But then you get into Washington and the Jets. And Steve, like I said, I don't think Mariota gets as far as 6. I mean, do you think he's going to slide further than that?
Well, you're probably right, but we've seen in previous drafts, Brady Quinn, top 10 pick, he slid way around. Last year, Johnny Football, he slid way up too. So,
yeah, look where Johnny Football is now.
You know, he's a little bit of a problem, but he'll be back.
Not when he gets out of rehab.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, he could slide a lot further than people think. It just depends if the teams that are in these upper spots, if they want to take a sure thing, or if they want to try and build their team around Mariota. I mean, I don't know. You know, we'll know more in a month, obviously, but I would not be shocked if he slid to the upper teens. But you know, it depends if the Jets and teams like that, if they want to start now with football with a quarterback, or if they want to solidify their lines and then bring the quarterback in later. You know, once they got all the trenches figured out. It's
definitely interesting, and I'm looking forward to the draft just like I am every year, but it's going to be interesting to see where Mariota, I think that's going to be the highlight of the draft is where Mariota slides. A little bit off news with football is Aaron Hernandez. The trial was supposed to continue today with the verdict. Going to get canceled till Monday. We'll definitely have that for you on the next episode, what happens to him. Here's a guy who, you know, had it all with the Patriots, had a, you know, Super Bowl, had this and that, and just one night of stupidity just is going out of control, and it's you know, we'll get to that on Monday. We're going to have a draft special. That could be our next episode, so stay tuned for that.
Well, Mike, you know, like the great Herman Edwards says, nothing ever good happens at 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's you know what, that is true. That is true. In a side note, we want to send our condolences out to Stan Hochman and his family. Stan Hochman, I've watched and listened to some of his stuff over the years on WIP. People know him as the Grand Poobah, calling in. Great guy, 86, passed away recently. And Lauren Hill, if people have seen her in the news lately, 19-year-old freshman from Mount St. Joseph, diagnosed with brain cancer. Really did a lot for cancer, raised research for it, and just really a tremendous story with her. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families for that.
Right. Get back to Stan for a minute. Stan was one of those guys that could really just come right out and report the news, and without even trying to be funny, he was just completely hysterical.
Yep.
And you know what? One thing he was really knowledgeable about was horse racing, baseball,
I think he was
and
a food
boxing.
critic too at one time.
Yeah, he was a food critic too.
Yeah.
But I mean, those sports obviously were really big when he was a younger person. Obviously, he continued those interests when he was older. But I really enjoyed listening to him over the years, particularly about those subjects because he was more knowledgeable on those. But yeah, he was a really funny guy to listen to on the radio.
And people might know, in a little side thing to him, he had a cameo in Rocky as one of the reporters. Yep, back in the day. Let's get to baseball. I think baseball is something, getting into the season we need to talk about. And again, being in from New Jersey and the Delaware Valley area, the big question around here is, will the Phillies have 100 losses this year? And I'll tell you what, I don't know if they'll get 100 losses, but it's going to be a troubling season. You got, Hamels is their best pitcher. He does get traded. I don't know where the wins come from. Aaron Harang had a good outing the other night, and the bats seem to be a little bit quiet, but I don't know where they're going to get their hits from or their pitching.
No, I mean, to say they're going to get 100 losses, that's probably not a stretch, but, maybe they'll lose 90. Probably somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Are they going to be a terrible team? Probably. But the one thing I know, it's baseball and anything can happen.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're going to win the pennant or anything like that, but, would I be in complete shock? I'd be surprised. But I wouldn't be shocked if they won 80 games and finished around 500 because, you get a couple rookies that can kind of, let's face it, the Braves aren't that good either in their division.
Nope.
The Nationals will obviously be a force, and the Florida Marlins are probably not going to be anything great either. So, they may, just because their division's so bad, they might win a few more games than people think. Is it going to matter? I think they're in the rebuilding phase, obviously. And hopefully that keeps going in a good direction. Yeah,
I agree with that. And with Philadelphia sports, I mean, I think Amaro, people don't like Amaro because he's hung on the guys too long, like Chase Utley. Okay, great guy, nice PR move to keep him, but well past time, you should have got rid of him. Ryan Howard, I don't know if you were going to be able to get rid of him now.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, that's the problem that people have talked about it before.
Yep.
They held on to these guys too long. Jimmy Rollins, I think that's the one that I was fine with him sending him to L.A. And at least they got something for him. I don't know how much more they would have even got for him a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But Howard, obviously, it's just two people being stubborn at this point. Amaro and the Phillies, they don't want to release him and just cut the losses.
Yep.
So they're holding on to him. And he's just going to sit here and just,
strike out like crazy again.
Strike out, hit a few home runs, and he's going to sit here until they toss him to the curb because I don't think... as someone said earlier, everyone's saying, why does he go to the American League to be a DH? But, that whole role has changed. The DH, the old way of the DH who just hits and can't do anything else is kind of off. Right now, the American League is really using the DH as, let's give our first baseman a day off without having to play the field and just kind of rotate it. So they really can't have guys that can't, play defense or, do something other than play first base. So he's a real problem, and I don't think... the only way they're going to part ways with him is if they release him. I don't think they'll ever get a reasonable offer for him. Getting back to J-Roll for a second, in my own opinion about Jimmy Rollins, people might like him, and yeah, he has a good career. And is he a Hall of Famer? He's probably on the border, but personally, my own opinion, I think he's a very selfish player because for years with the Phillies, how he was good and how they were bad, he didn't want to lift that new trade clause. No, I'm not going anywhere, But now all of a sudden, he sees that the Phillies are going to be that bad of a team. He says, you know what? I'm going to lift that no trade clause, let me go to L.A. So, in that sense, I think he's a very selfish player. Is he a bad player? No, I'd be dumb to say that. I think he's a very good player, borderline Hall of Famer. Personally, I don't think he gets in. I'm not saying what you're saying is far off. The only thing is, with baseball, guys that play in the league forever and don't get hurt that much, played a lot of games, got a lot of at-bats. Obviously, every year he plays, he's passing more and more people on the hits list. He's not going to get to 3,000 hits, obviously. Probably going to get to the, upper. How many does he have now? I don't even know, but he's over probably 2,200, something like that.
Right around there.
He plays 2-3 more years. I don't know. He's going to get close. So I think based on the amount of time in the league, he may never get in the Hall of Fame, but he's probably going to be one of those guys that always gets a lot of votes.
He's, like I said, he's had a good career. Mm-hmm. He's definitely in there. And let me tell you something, that Phillies outfield, awful, dreadful right now. Good, quick turn to the Masters right now. And right now, Steve, I know, it's only day 2. I mean, it's only Friday, and tomorrow's really moving day with things. Jordan Spieth is just absolutely tearing it up right now. Right now he's minus 14. The next to him is Charlie Hoffman, who's actually having a good round at minus 7. But I mean, Jordan Spieth, if it's minus 14 going into Saturday, I don't. Unless he really collapses, I don't really see.
I believe Justin Spieth has changed his name to Jesus.
I think, I think you are right.
I think Jesus would be one behind.
I think he was walking across the water on number 15. I think
I've
he
never
was.
seen a display like that. It reminds me of the time Woods, that first year that he just completely destroyed the field.
Yep.
And I think he's probably too young to be nervous, or he has no fear, and he's just playing like he can't possibly hit the ball in the water. So it's actually going to make for a pretty boring tournament if he puts 2 more rounds together. Last I saw, I think he was on hole number 15. He's 13 under. So, I mean, let's face it. If he finishes 28 under, and the next closest guy is 8,
it's going to be ridiculous.
No one's going to watch on Sunday.
Yeah, the PGA will love that.
Yeah, well, yeah, they can mark it around another guy, but yeah, he, so yeah, it's kind of a runaway at this point. But hopefully, I hope he collapses a little bit, and just to make it competitive.
It's interesting to see Ernie Els as 45-year-old veteran that he is, still up at the top, minus 5 right now, and Jason Day at minus 4. You're looking at Justin Rose making a big move at number 4. Mickelson's still hanging tough at minus 2. Tiger.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you throw him out of this, it's a really good tournament.
It actually is.
4, 1, 2, and the guy's 7 under. Yeah. So it would be a really good tournament if you get rid of his.
You don't want to say it's a shame that Jordan Spieth is staring it up, but I mean, in the same sense, here's a guy who's an up-and-coming player, 21 years old, and I'll let you know, we've talked about this before. The whole issue with me with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. He's struggled in the last couple of years, and he's not the old Tiger form. I just think the PGA did themselves an injustice when Tiger Woods was playing at that highest level to start talking about other players that were coming up, like Ricky Fowler, Dustin Johnson. That people don't watch golf. That, like myself, I watch golf and I enjoy the certain players that I see out there. But to not talk about the guys that came up in the league, now you're stuck with just people knowing Tiger. And when Tiger's out of tournaments or Tiger's not playing well, the PGA suffers. It's not because of anything. It's because they haven't promoted anybody. It's just because they don't really know anybody in golf.
Yeah,
and that's the problem we're running into.
I think maybe they did admit the error of their ways. Obviously, McIlroy is someone that is pretty exciting to watch. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one other thing during that time period. You had other really good players. Like Mickelson was really fun to watch for his short game, but if you're just looking at like a personality that people will turn the TV on and watch, aside from maybe an older player, who's the guy we talked about earlier? Who's the guy that 65 years old?
Oh, Watson?
Watson, yeah. Tom Watson. A couple of years ago, when he had a really good tournament, and it was in the British Open. I mean, that was something people really got excited about. Mm-hmm. But, that obviously draws people interest, particularly older viewers. But, some of the younger guys just didn't have that appeal from the public that they really wanted to watch or they were interested in. Yep.
Again, people, mgaletta@comcast.net if you ever want to throw some stuff at me. Let's go to basketball real quick, Steve. I know Steph Curry last night, if anybody saw this story last night, Golden State played Portland. Portland was up 5 points in going into the fourth quarter, and Steph Curry, again, blowing it up. I mean, 8 for 13 from the three-point line, 45 points total. Outscored Portland himself, 19-17 in points. I mean, this guy is ridiculous.
No, he's like his old man. His old man could shoot the rock too.
Yeah, Del Curry.
Yeah, Del Curry was something to watch. Very underrated player, but yeah, he's a lot better at this point than his dad is. But yeah, he's really something to watch, and he's got them going. But whether they can get out of the West is a major. I mean, you've
got some teams in the West.
You're looking at the top 7 teams in the West may all win 50.
Yep.
And if that's the benchmark of a good team, then any of those series, except for the I don't know who they're going to play at the 8th seed, but I guess that's up in the
probably either Dallas or that would be Oklahoma City or New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that series is obviously going to go to Golden State.
And New Orleans has been playing well lately. So
yeah, any of those other series can probably go either direction. Yep. I mean, you got the Spurs at number 7. That's no picnic.
Besides the playoffs, looking at that, I mean, the East, I think you got Toronto as a sleeper. You have Chicago, which has their struggles. You got the Hawks, but again, you got to talk about the Cavs. I mean, we're up top again.
I was talking about this earlier. I think the Cavs are going to come out of the East without much of a problem. Atlanta really hasn't been there before. They're having a great season.
Yeah, they're on talent.
Yep. The Cavs are starting to play well, and You know, I think that the Cavs are just going to come out of the East without any problem. Now, that being said, I don't think they'll have any chance at all to beat any of the teams in the West.
And we had talked about this earlier, which is going to be interesting this year, is about the draft, about the Sixers. I mean, if the Sixers somehow, I wouldn't say pull a miracle, because it's not a miracle, but if they do get the #1 pick and they get Okafor, then you got to do some shuffling. They're going to have Noel, Embiid, and Okafor. I think Noel's the odd man out there. I think you got to look to maybe move him.
Well, I think they'll probably keep all of them for the time being. Obviously, they're still a couple years away from putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. Getting role players, things of that nature, in order to build a winner. So I think they'll probably play them all next year, and then just try and build trade value for one of them. Sam Hinkie certainly likes to make trades.
He does. We've seen that.
He may just build one of their trade values up and shop one of them and send them packing. I mean, they actually were shopping Embiid. We didn't even know that until after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he'll send anybody.
Anybody's available.
Anybody's available for a draft pick, that's for certain.
Yeah. And for you hockey guru guys out there, Flyers, I'm a big Flyers fan here. Flyers, I wouldn't say total distress, but Hextall's definitely going to rebuild this team. Defensively, I guess Mason is the guy to keep for the time being, but you definitely need another right-wing scorer on this team. Couturier, I think, has worn his welcome out here, and maybe look to trade him, one of the Shem brothers. You definitely got to look to shuffle this team around. I think Hextall's going to do a good job of that. Playoff-wise, definitely the wild card race has been very interesting in the East. You got Pittsburgh, Ottawa, and Boston all vying for that last spot. You got a shocking LA Kings team out of the championship this year, so there will not be back-to-back Stanley Cup champions this year. And Winnipeg added to the playoffs this year. I think it's phenomenal to get some new teams in there. Yeah, hockey has a lot of teams in the playoffs, and yeah, a lot of teams do get in, but for some of these teams like Calgary, who was never supposed to be anything this year, and again, like I said, Winnipeg and Minnesota, not guaranteed, but they look like they're on their way in. It's just phenomenal. I think hockey's not going to be one of the major four in the way of the football ratings and the basketball or anything like that, but it's definitely got a kick in the rear end with some of these teams getting into playoffs this year. In this time in our show, we're going to do the mailbag. People that have called in or the people that I have talked to and for the inaugural show to give us some questions and comments. So Steve, can you give me that first one?
Sure. Before I do that, I just want to let all our good people know out there that this nice cup from Dunkin' Donuts, you can buy this for 99 cents and get refills for 99 cents. So always looking to put some more silver in your pocket.
There you go.
Then we'll get to the mailbag here.
There you go.
All right, here you go.
Thank you. Let's go to the first one. That John from Folsom says, will Jordan Spieth win the Masters going away? And we just talked about that, Steve. I think he could have, without a doubt, run away.
Probably will. I mean, the only thing is, I've definitely seen some people collapse over the years. And to see a guy shoot 4 rounds like this at the Masters, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, will he finish 20 under? That could certainly happen. But for him to get the upper 20, I think he's going to come back down to earth a little bit.
I agree. I think somewhere around 16 or 15 is definitely
right. He may shoot par. I mean, because how aggressive with a 10-shot lead? How aggressive is he going to play? He's just going to
lay back and get par.
Yeah, he's going to shoot pars and force everyone else to make mistakes.
Sure. Rich from Hammonton says, is Sam Bradford the opening day starter in Philadelphia? I think he is. I don't think he's the kind of person that they're going to trade. Personally, Bradford's got that $12.5 million salary. I don't know who you're going to trade him to. I think the Eagles took a chance on him, thinking that getting that knee better, he is healthy, he's going to be a better quarterback. And with Mark Sanchez back there, I don't see, unless they make a huge move, pull another veteran in here, I really think Bradford is your starting quarterback. Season.
I mean, probably is. I mean, obviously when the draft is over, you'll definitely know. Until that point in time, I guess we're left waiting like everyone else. But yeah, so he's probably going to be the opening day starter.
But with that too, I don't think Philadelphia, the Eagles in the draft are in definite need of a quarterback in the earlier rounds. Can they get Brett Hundley in the second round? Absolutely. I don't think that's a bad move. But I think in the first round pick, you got to go for a strong safety. Here's a defense that's secondary was one of the worst in football last year.
Right.
You really got to address that. And if you're going to plug a guy in there from the draft, it's got to be from one of the opening drafts.
Yeah, I would say so.
Tina from Marlton says, who do you think has a real good chance to get to the World Series this year? And it is early. It is definitely early. We're only 3-4 games into the season right now. My own opinion, I wrote down a couple names out of the one division or one conference. I think Washington has a shot. They're definitely loaded at pitcher. San Francisco, obviously, they can definitely get back there. LA, and my dark horse is Atlanta. What do you think of those teams, Steve?
Atlanta, they just traded away their closer, so Kimball.
Well, they could be a dark horse. I'm not saying definitely.
I mean, they always have a really good farm system, so and their division stinks. Obviously, we know that, but they do have the Nationals to compete with theirs. But they can, maybe maybe sneak into one of the wild card slots, something like that. But yeah, I like the Giants. The Dodgers people pick every year, and they just never do anything. But the Giants are the one team, they just always seem to be there in the end. But it's it's kind of wide open this year. Usually there's a couple of just overpowering teams, and this year there's not. So it should be fun to watch.
And in the American League, I'm going to take Detroit. And even though Verlander's on the DL right now, I still got Detroit up there. I think Boston's going to be up there. I think the Angels still have a shot, even though they started out a little sluggish. I think they're still going to be up there. And my dark horse here has got to be Seattle. They got the addition of Cruz from Baltimore. Their pitching is kind of in line. Again, dark horse. Doesn't mean they're going to be up there, but I think they do have a shot if some things go their way.
Homer?
I do like Seattle, as you can tell by the Mariners. But I do think the Mariners do have a better shot.
They do have a nice young team, but they might sneak in the playoffs.
They could. And the last one is from Steve from Mays Landing. Steve, is Gino the coach from Connecticut?
I know he did.
Yeah, on the same level as John Wooden with 10 championships? Absolutely not. This is girls basketball. Not that it's far off from men's, but it's two totally different worlds. If Gino Arameta would actually go to the men's game, I think you'd see a big difference in his coaching style.
I got a question for you. This guy has completely dominated the women's sport.
Yep.
There's not a damn thing left for him to do.
Absolutely.
He has more championships. He wins every friggin' year.
Yep.
Why doesn't he try the men's game?
I will even give you one better. When the Connecticut job opened up last year before the coach got in there now, why wouldn't he say, you know what, it is my time. Let me go across the gym and take over the men's
That
game.
may not have been available to him just because, they wouldn't have wanted to do that, to change that with the school. But, yeah, I just can't. I mean, I know women's basketball is huge at UConn. And who knows, he probably, has his roots in the community and all that stuff. But I can't figure out why he wouldn't at least try to, I'm not saying go pro, but go to a men's team anywhere. I'm sure they would give him a shot.
Yep.
I mean, granted, it's a different game in the way you coach and all that, but, not that different. I don't know. It's odd. But who knows? I don't think he'll ever leave now. He's been there too long.
Well, we're out of time here on the Sports Box, but we're going to make this a regular thing. Like I said, look for the upcoming specials on football, basketball, baseball, hockey. We're going to individualize stuff. We're going to talk to you. We're going to give you our opinion because that's the only opinion that matters here at the Sports Box. I want to thank Steve for coming by today. We'll have him on future shows. In the meantime, like I said, you want to go to some questions, answers, you want to send me some complaints, tell me what you think of the show. mgaletta@comcast.net. We are the Sports Box. I want to thank you for watching today. Subscribe to the channel. You'll appreciate it. I'll give you my views whenever I can. Thanks a lot.
See you, everybody.